Hi everyone, my name's Sam Barratt. I work for UN Environment, and this is my first time at Gamescom, so be kind to me. My job here at UN Environment is to lead on youth education and advocacy, and we've been working with the video gaming industry for the past 18 months to see how we can get different parts of the video gaming world to play their part for the environment. We're delighted to say that we've got two brilliant experts with us to hear their thoughts on this agenda. So we've got Kati Levoranta, who's the CEO of Rovio, who we'll be hearing from, and then also Kieren Mayers, who also goes by the name of Dr. Kieren, who is the head of environment and many other things at Sony Interactive Entertainment. And he's done a ton of work thinking about how you can rinse out the wattage from consoles and a lot more. Before I introduce them to you, I just want to introduce the initiative very briefly. The Playing for the Planet Alliance is a group of over 25 different companies that have all pledged to take specific measurable actions about what they will do on the environment. They range from Microsoft working to rethink some of the wattage in their consoles, Sony doing all kinds of things to really think about what the PlayStation 5 can do in the months ahead before launch, as well as look quite deeply about how gaming experience on VR can do different things as well. On the mobile front, we've had all kinds of great partners, with Sal, to Rovio, who you hear from, SpaceAid, and many others who've made great commitments about what they'll do in-game, which we'll be hearing about through the course of this discussion. But for me, I think the reason why we think the video gaming industry is so important on this challenge is because we need all hands on deck if we're going to deal with the climate crisis. So whether you're a gamer, there's so many things you can do, whether it's powering down, to think about what contribution you can make in terms of buying in-game if it makes a difference, or really thinking about the games that have a bit more mindful play built into them. But also we're working to really see how we can not only help companies to decarbonize through the guidance that we'll be giving them, but we've just finished a whole new initiative called the Green Game Jam for mobile companies. That launched earlier this month, and we've had a brilliant response from the 11 companies that have participated in that. I think Kati will be talking about that when she talks a little bit later. So for those from the industry, we are keen to accept more members, so do drop me a note and I'll put my details up on the screen a bit later. For those that play, if you've got ideas about what you think we could be doing more of, then feel free to drop us a note. I'll share my email. But really, I think what I want to do is give space for the leaders in the industry to share some of their ideas about what they think we can all do to play for the planet. And so what I'm going to do is, without further ado, is hand over to Kati from Rovio, who's going to give us a few thoughts on what they've been thinking about up in Finland. So Kati, over to you.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Sam, and thank you for having a chance to participate in this very important discussion. Let me first say briefly a few words about Rovio in general to get a feeling a bit who we are. So Rovio is a games-first entertainment company, meaning that the games business is in our core. We have been in games business since 2003, and first Angry Birds game was launched in 2009. Thereafter, we have launched multiple games, both with Angry Birds brand and with other IPs. And in addition to games, we license Angry Birds brand to third parties to manufacture and create branded consumer products and location-based entertainment. We are headquartered here in Finland, where we have 2 gaming studios. We also have a gaming studios in Sweden, Denmark, and Montreal, Canada. Despite of having majority of our employees located here in Finland still, we are a very diverse group. We are close to, or we have close to 50 different nationalities working at Rovio. And it is always great to see that despite of our different backgrounds, one of the things that unite us strongly is the desire to act for a good cause, and fight against climate change is definitely one of those. We all know that it's not an easy fight, and thus all hands are needed. Although the level of environmental impact varies from one industry to another, there is no industry really where this would not be relevant. I believe that for games industry, it is beneficial to join forces in this initiative, Playing for Planet. And we believe that when we are acting together, we can actually create a common best practices, share learnings, and be more impactful in supporting the fight against the climate change. And that's why we are part of the initiative as well. When looking at our corporate responsibility areas, these 5 that you see on the slide are the ones we have been currently identifying the most relevant ones for us. And those are also the ones that we're focusing on. Environment is naturally one of the core focus areas. Awareness creation and carbon footprint of gaming are the most important areas for us when we talk about the environment. Although carbon footprint of facilities and business travel is relevant, and we're fully offsetting that, footprint is still relatively small, and there's only a limited room to improve. Naturally, the current situation with COVID-19 has taught us a lot, e.g. about how we can do business without face-to-face interaction and need to travel. And those learnings will for sure be applied also past COVID-19 time. I'll come back to how we have addressed the carbon footprint of gaming a bit later, but before that, I'd like to go a few years back, since Rovio has actually, from very early on, wanting to be engaged in activities for a good cause. And we have had many kinds of awareness building campaigns in our games with multiple distinguished partners. Let's look at a few of them a bit closer. For example, in 2014, the Duke of Cambridge teamed up with Rovio to raise awareness of the plight of the Bangaling. Bangalings appeared in an Angry Birds tournament for a week, with William calling for more to be done to save the Bangalings. In 2016, Apple and World Wildlife Fund worked together to protect life on our planet. We ran an event in Angry Birds 2 game to protect our oceans, and related to that event, donated the proceeds to WWF. Angry Birds 2 also supported WWF's conservation work with special content that highlighted ocean protection, which is obviously one of the focus areas for World Wildlife Fund. Also in 2016, we ran an event in Angry Birds Friends together with, again, World Wildlife Fund and United Nations Wild for the Life campaign to save the endangered tigers. The goal was to help raise awareness for the threats that tigers face in the wild. Event was also made to celebrate the International Tiger Day in July 2016. During years 2015 and 2017, we raised awareness for climate change already and promoted smarter energy usage through our Angry Birds Friends game. We teamed up with WWF to bring more attention to energy conservation in the form of Earth Hour. For example, in the event in 2015, we shut down the competitive multiplayer Bird Flinger in Angry Birds Friends for an hour, which is the duration of the Global Earth Hour event. There was also a week-long Angry Birds Friends Earth Hour in-game tournament. In addition to that, United Nations launched together with Rovio and Sony the Angry Birds Happy Planet campaign that took place twice in years 2016 and 2019 in connection with the Angry Birds movie launches. The Angry Birds Happy Planet campaign encouraged youth to step up their actions to address climate change and ensure a sustainable, happier future for all of us. Our Red Bird was designated to be as an honorary ambassador for green and went on virtual world tour to bring attention to ways in which people could take climate action. In 2019 campaign, the birds and the pigs joined forces to support the United Nations Act Now campaign, a global call to individual action to tackle climate change. The Angry Birds directed digital audience to the United Nations Act Now website to educate and encourage individual action that will lead to behavioral change. As of today, we are one of the founding members of the Playing for the Planet, and we want to be part of making decisions how the video gaming industry could best help in the fight against the climate change. As part of the joint commitment against climate change in this Playing for Planet initiative, Rovio has offset the carbon impact from its players and each player charging one device fully once per day. We acknowledge that fact that our players are interacting with their mobile devices in other ways than just playing our games However, by compensating a full charge, we kept it simple and ensured we were not undercompensating the impact. We took the figure for Rovio's daily active users across our entire portfolio. The time period we used for this calculation was the past 12 months. We broke down the mobile device split by platform based on previous month's daily active users. And based on that, we knew about battery and energy consumption of top-end Android and iOS devices. We calculated the energy required to fully charge these devices once per day for 1 year, including the average energy wastage during the process. Therefore, the end measurement used was kilowatt per year. Once we had this number, we chose an appropriate carbon calculator, i.e. the average USA grid electricity for all players. In total, this equated approximately 19.5 carbon tons per year. The offset of this amount was conducted via United Nations carbon offset platform to ensure we were compensating through certified programs. We are encouraging everyone to consider this option. It requires a bit of calculation and tech support, but if you wish to check, a bit more details how we did it, you can find more information from our IR pages under responsibility. As part of creating awareness through our games, the Playing for Planet Alliance arranged the first ever Green Mobile Game event, or Jam, this spring, as Sam was already mentioning. The goal for the Jam was to find innovative ways to educate and empower our millions of players about climate change. We wanted to take part of the Jam and together with some of the biggest mobile gaming companies in the world, and we came up with a great and inspiring ways to create awareness on climate change through the games. All of the participating 11 gaming companies have around 250 monthly active users combined, so the impact is big. The game we chose for this initiative is our biggest game, Angry Birds 2, because we knew that we can create a lot of awareness for the environmental cause through our widely popular AB2 game. We chose to have a reforestation theme for our Green Mobile Game Jam project. Planting trees is important cause, and it was a great fit for our game where you normally destroy towers with slingshots. We also believe our players will really like and enjoy this theme. As the feature stands right now, the Angry Birds 2 game in Stockholm is preparing to have an event shop in the game where players can collect tree seeds by playing the game normally and then trade this currency in for event hats, which take the shape of trees. In addition to that, we will have a global community pop-up where we display the total number of collected tree seeds or tree hats. The pop-up will be designed to bring attention to the reforestation cause and will contain information where players can learn more about the initiative. The team is super excited and really enjoys working on this, and we are planning to have this live in the game later this fall. So with this, actually, how to sum up all the important things and thoughts, it is clear that we as an industry can do more. So let's work together and bring some anger for good. Let's understand the impacts and act upon those. And most importantly, let's also make sure that our own organizations have the possibility to be involved, because I know this is close to everyone's hearts. So thank you.
Thanks, Kati. That was super. And lots to think about there. I think what you're doing with Angry Birds 2 with the restoration of trees in there with seeds and other incentives is just brilliant. So good luck with that in the coming months. Now I'm going to go to Kieren. So Kieren leads on all of the environmental work across Sony. He's done a lot of thinking about the usage of energy in the consoles, but also more broadly about what are the opportunities to inspire people to think about the environment through play as well. So Kieren, great to have you. The floor is yours to let us know how Sony's approaching this theme.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks. Hi, and welcome to Gamescom Online. I'm Director of Environment at Sony PlayStation. I've been part of the Sony family since 2000. And my interest in the environment goes right back to my childhood. I've studied all my life in this area, so I feel very honored and proud to be part of this group. Today I'm going to talk about what our commitments are within the United Nations Playing for the Planet Alliance, and more importantly, what actual progress have we made. So why is gaming so important for climate change? And the answer is gaming has such incredible outreach. Around 2 billion people game. And we've been part of that story with the launch of PlayStation 1 in 1994. And in this time, we've sold over 500 million units of PlayStation hardware, which includes 100 million units of PlayStation 4, or over 100 million units. And Sony has set a road to zero target, so for zero emissions by 2050, which is in line with the United Nations targets. And consequently, we joined the United Nations Playing for the Planet Alliance last year at the New York Climate Change Summit. And we stood shoulder to shoulder with all our partners here. Here, in a very rare moment, you can see our president, Jim Ryan, standing next to the Microsoft president, Phil Spencer, for Xbox. And we announced our commitments. And we're proud to be part of this alliance. And we believe that games have the power to ignite social change. Now, Playing for the Planet requires us to establish annual targets, which you might consider as steps along the way to achieving zero emissions. So what were our commitments and where are we? So first of all, we're on track to achieve 30 million tons of carbon avoided with the PlayStation 4. And that is due to the energy efficient technology that we have under its cover, including energy efficient power supplies and system on a chip architecture. Now that is equivalent to, for example, the carbon emissions of Denmark in 2017 as part of our lifetime global emission reductions. And just to compare what that looks like, if you look at PlayStation 3 here, the power consumption that it has for media mode compared to PlayStation 4, well, PlayStation 4 is just a lot lower, and that's despite it having an order of magnitude higher performance. Second, an important energy efficient feature of PlayStation 5 will be its ability to suspend and resume gameplay at just half a watt while the unit is powered down. Now, when that's enabled, that's 72% less power than the same mode on PlayStation 4. We also made a commitment to investigate how our intellectual property and virtual reality technology could be used to raise awareness or to help raise awareness on climate change. And one of our gaming characters, the Imp, featured along with others in the Act Now video when the Playing for the Planet Alliance, too many P's here, Playing for the Planet Alliance was announced. But furthermore, since then, we've been working with the United Nations Environment Programme to develop and launch a VR 360 video to educate children in lockdown on the impact of climate change. And that was developed using the game Dreams on the PlayStation 4. And that can be viewed without a PlayStation and without a VR headset actually on YouTube. And hopefully, if the tech works, what you'll be able to see now are a few clips. The video starts with a heaving ball that is the size of your annual carbon emissions. And then it progresses through everyday scenes and everyday activities that you can take to try to mitigate climate change. We're also in the process now of completing and finalizing a new global environmental webpage, which importantly will include advice to consumers and users on how to set up and use their consoles efficiently. And we hope that will be up and online in September, along with an email to PlayStation users. And finally, in December, we presented the results of an academic and peer-reviewed carbon footprinting study on gaming. And that includes the entire life cycle of gaming. So it includes the raw materials extraction, the disc and the hardware production, the games development, so the energy used in the studios, includes energy used in data centers for all the services, internet transmission, distribution and shipping, warehousing, retail, the energy used in the homes, and even the final disposal. So it's a comprehensive assessment. And what we actually found is the carbon impact of gaming really depends on a number of factors. For example, do you game by disk, do you download, or you stream games? Where are you in the world? How long do you game for? And what is the size of the gaming file? These are the principal factors. But to give a summary and a flavor of it, what we found is that downloading is always better for smaller games, whereas streaming is really best when you play games for a short period of time. So maybe you like to try games before you buy, or you stream before you download, or you just like to snack on many games. And that's something our PlayStation Now streaming service does provide. And finally, the download and the disk is best for larger games that you might play end to end. And they're about equivalent in terms of carbon emissions. But more specifically, how does that stack up? How does it compare in terms of numbers? Well, what we found is that gaming is actually a relatively low carbon form of entertainment. So an hour of gaming, let's take an average download of a game, an hour of gaming will emit around 50 grams of carbon dioxide per hour. And that is almost half what you might see on a typical PC game. And if you go to for example, a trip to the cinema could emit 50 times more carbon than that, largely due to the travel. So we're pleased with the progress we've made so far on our commitments. And we're going to share this carbon footprinting tool with the other members and enter that conversation about how we can reduce our carbon in future. And we're now preparing what our commitments will be for the upcoming year. And I look forward to sharing those with you in future. So thanks for tuning in, and thanks, Sam. Back to you.
Thanks, Kieren. Always great to hear from you. I think we've got a bit of time for a few questions. So without wishing to put you too firmly on the spot, Kati, I just wanted to start with maybe to go to you first. So you mentioned about thinking about your carbon footprint as a studio and what you could do to address that. What was the biggest barrier to try and calculate your footprint? And was that easy to do? Or was it quite straightforward? And so if you're there, you're running a studio, and you're wondering, well, what could I do? What advice would you give to other studios about how to take that forward?
Yeah, I mean, there are obviously different things that you can calculate and take into consideration, but I guess it very much boils down to the fact that you will probably need quite a lot of information from your partners as well in order to get to concrete right figures. And thus, it's good to involve, obviously, also tech people from your organization in these calculations to make sure that they are proper ones going forward, and try to have your partners also excited about this exercise in a sense that you do get the right information from them. So it is actually a joint effort with the ecosystem that you are working on daily basis.
Thanks, Kati. And Kieren, I know you spend a lot of time looking at energy inside consoles and more. Again, from your perspective at Sony, where do you think the industry's at in terms of rinsing the wattage out of the business that it has? And what more do you think could be done in the coming months and years ahead?
Oh, that's a very good question. We're always challenged to try and improve on and reduce where we're at and reduce the carbon footprint and energy of the consoles. And that's something we've been looking at actively for PlayStation 5. I think that there is a natural trend in computing and digital services to make machines more efficient as they become higher performing. But there are certain technologies that are heads above the rest. So it's really important to sort of steer the companies towards using those technologies. And I know PlayStation 5 will be using a solid state drive. It uses a lot less energy than a hard disk drive, for example. And our competitors are making similar moves as well. So it's progress, but it's a journey that you need to keep taking step by step to try and achieve these ambitious targets.
Thanks, Kieren. And Kati, just choosing to work on this agenda, is this personal or is it professional, or what's made you to step up to the plate to really think deeply about how you add more purpose into what Rovio is about?
It's actually about our whole organization, and part of the thinking of the purpose of the organization as well. And as I said, we are a very diverse group of people here at Rovio, and one of the things that unites us and drives us is also doing things for good. And I very much subscribe myself, obviously, to those values and thinking as well. But I think it is very much a Rovio DNA to do good things. And as I discussed in the presentation, we've been involved in these kind of things already from early on. So it's been part of our journey as well. And this is just something that, again, kind of like makes the organization also delighted that there is a clear initiative that we're taking part and we want to be part.
Great, thanks, Kati. And Kieren, I think when people play, they often play to escape the real world, and they delight in the fact that they can move into different spaces and arenas. To what extent do you think there's an appetite from gamers to really engage in these themes in play? And how do you get that balance right so that people don't feel they're being overwhelmed by a subject that they didn't choose to engage in when they look to play? So how do you get that balance right in game design?
I think that's something we're still learning about. I mean, you can have content that very explicitly targets a subject, and it could be edutainment material, or it could be that is the theme. But I think a lot of games, as you say, people go for escapism. Well, games engage in many different sorts of themes and explore many themes, and often in sort of fantastical settings. And they're not there to sort of preach to people. So the best way to do anything like this is to include these things as part of the narrative. And I think people do expect sometimes games to sort of echo life in some ways, but at the same time is sort of driving the imagination. I'm not a creative, I'm more of a scientist, but it's exciting when you get some of the best minds in the world and some of the best creators in the world and let's set them onto this problem. I'm excited to see, what comes out. And you see some great examples of things already out there. Yep.
Thanks, Kieren. And I just think my last question then to both of you is what benefits have you had from joining the Alliance? I mean, how has it helped you with your work internally, maybe Kieren? And then Kati, what more do you think this initiative could go on to achieve? Like, what are your hopes and aspirations for it? So first, Kieren, maybe just to tell us what difference it's made for your work, and then maybe Kati, I'll come to you to ask you about hopes and aspirations about how much further it could go.
Well, I've always enjoyed working with Sony and with PlayStation because it is a progressive organization and people do like to engage in these things. But what happened after joining the Alliance that surprised me considerably is just how much that sort of tapped into a lot of people's hopes and dreams and the amount of enthusiasm that led to. So now I have people coming to me with all sorts of ideas and developments, and it's been an excellent catalyst for action internally.
Great, thanks, Kieren. And Kati, look over the hills for us. Where could this go?
Well, I think that this can go wherever, as long as we kind of like firmly stand behind the initiative. And of course, I would like to see much more gaming companies joining, Playing for Planet Alliance, because I strongly believe that we have a chance to make a difference as well. And more we are together, better we can probably influence, and more audience we will be able to gather and really create the awareness and take it to the next level. So I think that it's a great initiative. So obviously we wanted to be part of that as well. And I strongly believe that there is a chance to go much further and, really be able to create the awareness and do good things in fighting against climate change.
Great. It's a tremendous answer. Thanks, Kati. I didn't pay you to say that, but I think that there's a lot more that we can do. And the initiative's not even a year old, and it's already got a lot of good progress underneath its belt. So I think we're knocking on the door of half an hour. So we don't want to keep you waiting for other events you want to go and listen to. So I think just to any studios that are keen to join, just write to us. We're here. We're responsive. We're keen to hear from you. But also, I think there's a great opportunity for you to learn from people like Kati and Kieren, who are taking kind of fairly large steps on this agenda. And I think for us, rather than just kind of repeat and cycles, you can learn from others and benefit from the steps that they've taken. So studios, get on board. We're keen to have you and get involved. But gamers, I think there's an interesting question for you guys about how much are you interested in these themes being your games? Many of us are very aware of the climate challenges that are dawning upon us. So what role do you think the gaming industry should play in helping to inform, educate, and inspire people on this agenda? So I think there's a lot more discussion to be had on that front. So I'll leave it there. I just want to say again, thank you to Kati Levoranta from Rovio, and also for Kieren from Sony for all of your thoughts. And you'll see us soon, I'm sure. Thank you.